Vasudeva Naram Navas Naram Chaiva Narotam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprayi Shavadretu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Madhya Lila, Chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 228 onwards. Sei Ratri Prabhu Taha Chinte Mane Mana Sange Sanghat Bhale Nahe Kaila Sanatan. That night the Lord considered Sanatan Goswami's proposal that he should not go to Vrindavan followed by so many people. Mathura jaibe amita loka sange kichu sukha na paiba habe rasa bhange. The Lord thought, if I go to Mathura with such crowds behind me, it would not be a very happy situation, for the atmosphere would be disturbed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that visiting a holy place like Vrindavan with so many people is simply disturbing. He would not find the happiness he desired by visiting such holy places in that way. Ekaki yaiva kimva sange ekajana tabe se shobhai Vrindavane ragamana. The Lord concluded that he would go alone to Vrindavan, or at most would take only one person as his companion. In that way, going to Vrindavan would be very pleasant. Eta chinti prata kale ganga snanakari nila chale jaba bali chalila gorahari. Thinking like this, the Lord took his morning bath in the Ganges and started for Nilachal, saying, I shall go there. So he came back to Nilachal, or Jagannath Puri. Ei mata chale chale aila Shantipure, dina pancha shat rahila acharya raghare. Walking and walking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Shantipur and remained at the house of Advaita Acharya for 5 to 7 days. Shachi Devi ahi tare kaila namaskara, shata din tare thai bhiksha vyavahara. Taking this opportunity, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu sent for Mother Shachi Devi, and she remained at his house for 7 days to prepare the meals for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tada agyalaya puna karila gamane vinaya kariya vidya dila bhaktagane. Taking permission from his mother, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then started for Jagannath Puri. When the devotees followed him, he humbly begged them to remain and bid them all farewell. Janadui sangeya yavanila chale amare miliba asi ratha jatra kale. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although requesting all the devotees to go back, allowed 2 people to follow him. He requested all the devotees to come to Jagannath Puri and meet him during the Khar festival. Balabhadra Bhattacharya Pandit Damodar Dui Jane Sange Prabhu Aila Nilachal. The 2 persons who accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Jagannath Puri, Nilachal, were Balbhadra Bhattacharya and Damodar Pandit. दिन कातत का तहाँ रहे चलीला वृंदावन लुकाया चलीला रात्रे न जाने कौन जान. After remaining at Jagannath Puri for a few days, the Lord secretly started for Vrindavan at night. He did this without anyone's knowledge, because then again so many people would join him, and he didn't want that. Balabhadra Bhattacharya rahe matra sange jhari khanda pathe kashi aila maharange. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Jagannath Puri for Vrindavan, only Balbhadra Bhattacharya was with him. Thus he travelled on the path through Jharikhand forest and arrived in Banaras or Varanasi with great delight. दिन चार काशी ते रही गेला वृंदावन मथुरा देखिया देखे द्वादश कानन. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Banaras only 4 days and then left for Vrindavan. After seeing the town of Mathura, he visited the 12 forests. So there are Dwadash Kana, 12 forests in Braj. So he visited them all. Those who visit the Vrindavan area today also generally visit 12 places known as the 12 forests. They start in Mathura, where there is Kamevan. From there they go to Talvan, Tamalvan, Madhuvan, Kusumvan, Bhandirvan, Belvan, Bhadravan, Khandirvan, Lopavan, Kumudvan, and Gokul, Mahavan. So in all these forests, Krishna has so many wonderful pastimes. लीला स्थल देखी प्रेमे हैलास थेरा बलभद्र कैला तारे मथुरार बहिरा. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited all 12 places of Sri Krishna's pastimes, he became very much agitated because of ecstasy. Balbhadra Bhattacharya somehow or other got him out of Mathura. Ganga Tira Pathe Laya Prayage Aila Shirupa Asi Prabhu Ke Tathai Milila. After leaving Mathura, the Lord began to walk along the path on the bank of Ganga. And finally, he reached the holy place named Prayag, Allahabad. It was there that Srila Rupa Goswami came and met the Lord. Dandavat Kari Rupa Bhumi Te Padila, Parama Anande Prabhu Alingana Ai Dila. At Prayag, Rupa Goswami fell down on the ground to offer obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord embraced him with great delight. Shirupe Shiksha Karai Pathaila Vrindavana, Apane Karela Varanasi Agamana. After instructing Srila Rupa Goswami at Prayag at the Dashashmedh Ghat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered him to go to Vrindavan. The Lord then returned to Varanasi. So this temple, there's a beautiful temple at this Dashashmedh Ghat, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Srila Rupa Goswami for 10 days. And based on those instructions, Rupa Goswami wrote Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction. And at that temple, there is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He established Mahaprabhu's lotus feet imprint at that temple. They are still there. Kashi te Prabhu ke ashi milila sanatana dui mas rahi tare karaila shikshana. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Varanasi, Sanatana Goswami met him there. The Lord remained there for 2 months and instructed Sanatana Goswami perfectly. Mathura pathaila tare diya bhakti bal sannyasi re kripa kari gela nila chana. After fully instructing Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him to Mathura with empowered devotional service. Empowered devotional service means that he gave him the orders, first to remain in Vrindavan, write books, instruct devotees, excavate the places of pastimes of Krishna which have become unmanifest, and establish temples. But along with his instructions, he gave empowerment. He made him eligible to carry out all those instructions. In Banaras, he also bestowed his mercy upon the Mayavadi sannyasis. He then returned to Nilachal, Jagannath Puri. So we know he met Prakashanand Saraswati and his followers in Banaras. He gave them instructions. So he did so much of preaching in Banaras. 2 months he stayed there. Chai Vatsarai Prabhu Karila Vilas, Kabhu Iti Uti Kabhu Kshetra Vas. The Lord traveled all over India for 6 years. He was sometimes here, sometimes there. performing his transcendental pastimes, and sometimes he remained at Jagannath Puri. Anande Bhakta Sangha Sada Kirtan Vilas, Jagannath Darshan Pre Mera Vilas. While at Jagannath Puri, the Lord passed his time in great joy by performing Sankirtan and visiting the temple of Jagannath in great ecstasy. Madhya Lila Kailo E Sutra Vivaran, Ante Lila Sutra Eveshon Bhaktagan. Thus I have given a synopsis of the Madhya Lila, the middle pastimes of the Lord. Now, O devotees, kindly hear the synopsis of the final pastimes of the Lord known as Antya Lila. Vrindavan haite yadi Nila chale aila, 18 varsha taha vas kaha nahi gela. When the Lord returned to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan, he remained there and did not go anywhere else for 18 years, full 18 years. प्रति वर्ष ऐशंता गौड़ेर भक्त गान चारि मास रहे प्रभु संगे सम्मिलन. During those 18 years, all the devotees of Bengal used to visit him at Jagannath Puri every year. They would remain there for 4 continuous months and enjoy the company of the Lord. So for Chaturmas, they would come and stay there. निरंतर नृत्य गीता कीर्तन विलास आचंडाले प्रेम भक्ति करीला प्रकाश. At Jagannath Puri, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed chanting and dancing unceasingly. Thus he enjoyed the pastime of Sankirtan. He manifested his causeless mercy, pure love of God to everyone, including the lowest man. Pandit Gosai Kaila Nila Chale Vahasa Vakreshwara Damodara Shankar Haridasa. Residing with the Lord at Jagannath Puri were Pandit Gosai and other devotees such as Vakreshwar, Damodar, Shankar, and Haridas Thakur. Jagadananda Bhagavan, Govind Kashishwar, Paramananda Puriyara, Sarup Damodara. Jagadanand Bhagavan, Govind Kashishwara, Paramanand Puri, and Sarup Damodar were the other devotees who also lived with the Lord. Kshetravashi Ramananda Rai Prabhareti, Prabhu Shange Sab Kaila Nitya Sthiti. Srila Ramanand Rai and other devotees who were residents of Jagannath Puri also remained permanently with the Lord. Advaita Nityananda Mukund Shrivas Vidyanidhi Vasudeva Murari Yatadas. Prati Varshe Aishe Sange Rahe Chari Mahas Tasa Balaya Prabhu Vividha Vilasa. Other devotees of the Lord, headed by Advaita Acharya, Nityanand Prabhu, Mukunda, Shrivas, Vidyanidhi, Vasudeva, and Murari, used to visit Jagannath Puri and remained with the Lord for 4 continuous months. The Lord enjoyed various pastimes in their company. Haridasera Siddhi Prapti, Adbhut Se Sabha, Apani Mahaprabhu Yar Kaila Mahotsava. At Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur passed away. The incident was very wonderful because the Lord himself performed the festival of Thakur Haridas's departure. Tabe Rupa Gosaira Punaragamana Tahara Hriday Kaila Prabhu Shakti Sanchara. At Jagannath Puri, Srila Rupa Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord invested his heart with all transcendental power. Tabe Chota Haridase Prabhu Kaila Danda Damodar Pandit Kaila Prabhu Kevakya Danda. After this, the Lord punished Junior Haridas, and Damodar Pandit gave some warning to the Lord. Actually, Damodar Pandit was the eternal servant of the Lord. He could not punish the Lord at any time, nor had he any desire to do so, but he did give some warning to the Lord so that others would not blaspheme him. Of course, he should have known that the Lord is a supreme personality of Godhead and is free to act in any way. There is no need to warn him, and such an action is not very much appreciated by advanced devotees. But even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I'm afraid of Damodar Pandit, his anger. And he was afraid of Jagadanand Pandit, because Jagadanand Pandit was incarnation of Satyabhama, and he would get upset if Lord did not follow um, his style of feeding the Lord, especially about when it came to food. So Jagadanand Pandit would feed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu too much. But Mahaprabhu was afraid if he said no, then Jagadanand Pandit would fast. And there's Damodar Pandit could even chastise the Lord. Tabe Sanatana Gosair Punaragaman Jeshthar Mase Prabhu Tare Kaila Parikshan. Thereafter, Sanatan Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord tested him in scorching heat during the month of Jeshta. Jeshta is, I think, July, May, June. So what had happened was Sanatan Goswami would not go inside Lord Jagannath's temple because that was said that it's only reserved for Hindus. Only Hindus are allowed. Then Sanatan and Goswami thinking that they had almost become Muslims, so they are not qualified. Now, they would stay at Siddhabakul with Haridas Thakur. And Mahaprabhu would be at Tota Gopinath. He stayed at Gambhira. Gambhira is not far from Siddhabakul. When we go there, we can see. But Mahaprabhu was going every day to Tota Gopinath to meet Gadadhar Pandit and listen to Bhagavad. So there is a way going to Tota Gopinath from Siddhabakul, that is via the main temple. But Sanatan Goswami would not take that path. Why? Because so many pujaris of Jagannath, they were coming in and going out, and at that location, and Sanatan Goswami, see how humble he was. He thought, if even my shadow touches any pujari, then he will be contaminated. Because I am so impure, I am so fallen. So he would take the long road, long path along the beach, ocean beach. But the beach would be full of hot sand. And it was the month of May, June, so sand was really, really hot. But Sanatan Goswami would take that route. And when he reached Tota Gopinath temple, Mahaprabhu asked him, which route did you take? And he said, well, I could not come through the main route near Jagannath temple, so I take the route on the beach. And he had developed blisters on his feet, but he did not complain. And this is what satisfied Mahaprabhu. Tushta haya prabhu tare pathaila vrindavana advaitera haste prabhu radhuta bhojana. And being pleased, the Lord sent Sanatan Goswami back to Vrindavan. After that, he was fed wonderfully by the hands of Sri Advaita Acharya. So obviously, Mahaprabhu just gave him, hugged Sanatan Goswami, and that cured his body. No more blisters and no more other issues he had. But this humility and eagerness to carry out anything for the service of Mahaprabhu. This is what pleases Mahaprabhu. We can give all justifications of why we did something or why we didn't do something, but that doesn't please him. Humility is what pleases him. Nityananda Sangye Jukti Kari Anibrite Tare Pathaila Gaude Prema Pracharite. After sending Sanatan Goswami back to Vrindavan, the Lord privately consulted with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. He then sent him to Bengal to preach love of Godhead. Tabe tab Vallabh Bhatt Prabhu re milila, Krishna namer arth Prabhu tahare kahila. Soon after, Vallabh Bhatt met the Lord at Jagannath Puri, and the Lord explained to him the import of the holy name of Krishna. So this Vallabh Bhatt is Vallabhacharya. He had met him in Allahabad, Prayagraj, not sure if Mahaprabhu had met him in Navadvip before that. But Prayagraj he met, there's a temple there where Mahaprabhu met Vallabhacharya, and that is where Rupa Goswami came to see them. And that's also a very, very amazing meeting. Rupa Goswami, when he came to see Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu was sitting with Vallabhacharya, and Rupa Goswami paid obeisances, and he just stood there. Vallabhacharya asked him to sit down. Rupa Goswami, no, I'm not qualified to sit down here with you. So humble. And Vallabhacharya could see he's a big scholar. Vallabhacharya himself was a very big scholar. But still, Rupa Goswami, out of respect for Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya, did not sit down. Vallabh Bhatt is the head of Vaishnava Sampradaya known as Vallabhacharya Sampradaya in Western India. So the Western India, so mostly the followers are Gujaratis of Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. It's also called Pushti Marg Sampradaya. There is a long story about Vallabhacharya narrated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, specifically in the 7th chapter of the Madhya Lila and 19th chapter of the Madhya Lila. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the house of Vallabhacharya on the other side of Prayag, in a place known as Adaila Gram. Later, Vallabh Bhatt saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri to explain his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was very proud of his writings, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu corrected him, telling him that a Vaishnava should be humble and follow in the footsteps of his predecessors. The Lord told him that his pride in being superior to Sridhar Swami was not at all befitting a Vaishnava. So we'll read more about it later. But now if we remember the story of Madhavendra Puri, when he found that Gopal deity and he established on top of Govardhan. So that is in Govardhan, on Govardhan, near the village Jatipura. So Jati means sannyasi. And that village Jatipura is named after Madhavendra Puri because he was a sannyasi roaming around and he established the temple of Gopalji. Later, because of the attack by Muslims, again the Gopalji was taken to Rajasthan, where it is established in Nathdwar. And then that deity service was then taken over by Pushti Margi, the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. So now Gopalji, or also known as Srinathji, is being served very nicely in Nathdwar and all over the world. Now they established Haveli. They call it Haveli. The temples is called Haveli. They call it Haveli as a house of the Lord. And they really serve him very, very nicely. Serve him as a little boy holding Girirajji. That's the mood of Gopalji. And in this mood, they serve Krishna. Pradyumna Mishrere Prabhu Ramananda Sthane Krishna Katha Shunaila Kahi Tare Gune. After explaining the transcendental qualities of Ramananda Rai, the Lord sent Pradyumna Mishra to his residence, and Pradyumna Mishra learned Krishna Katha from him. Again, a wonderful pastime. We'll read about it later. Gopinatha Patanaya Ramananda Bhrata Raja Mari Techila Prabhu Hailatrata. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Gopinath Patanayak, the younger brother of Ramananda Rai, from being condemned to death by the king. Again, this is in more detail, it's explained later. Ramachandra Puri Bhai Bhiksha Ghataila Vaishnavera Dukha Dekhi Ardeka Rakhila. Ramachandra Puri criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating. Therefore, the Lord reduced his eating to a minimum However, when all the Vaishnavas became very sorry, the Lord increased his portion to have as much as usual. Although this Ramchandra Puri was disciple of Madhya Puri, so god brother of Ishwar Puri, so Mahaprabhu would always respect him as a spiritual master. But because of his criticism and because of his committing offenses against Mahaprabhu and other devotees, he just left Jagannath Puri, left the association of devotees, and he became a Mayavadi afterwards. But Mahaprabhu, following his criticism, he reduced his eating to a minimum, and then when the devotees requested him, no, this is not right, he increased it to half what he usually used to eat. So again, many wonderful pastimes are there. We'll discuss them all later. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी ये नाम दिस नेम्स ना गोस्वामी इज हियर, पता नहीं, आई पर्सनली बहुत कंफ्यूज होता हूँ प्रभु जी, मतलब उसको याद रखने में।
कोई नहीं,
जैसे
कोई नहीं, बार बार
टोटा
पढ़ने
गोस्वामी
में
हाँ, तो लाइक ना मैं फिर बहुत ही फोकस होके रिलेट करता हूँ। जैसे टोटा गोस्वामी के बारे में आप बता रहे हैं, तो अच्छा टोटा गोस्वामी का ऐसा है, ये चल रहा है। फिर कोई और अगर गोस्वामी आ जाते हैं ना तो कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं कि लाइक कौन सी कथा चल रही थी, ऐसे।
कोई नहीं, बार बार पढ़ने सुनने से फिर याद रह जाएंगे।
जी प्रभु।
Yeah. Chalo, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण, जय श्री